Chris Jones, Times Online, rugbypass.com. Your word on that, on Scott Robertson's first match in charge, mate.
Well, I think it's very refreshing when the coach comes straight to the TV guys afterwards and basically talks them through the match. It's very refreshing. Whether he'll still be doing that in 2 or 3 matches' time, I'm not so sure, Marty, because he's probably going to have to think about what he says a little bit longer, because this is a different ball game. He's admitted himself it's a different beast, isn't it? And he'll look now at that with his fellow coaches and see the areas where that they should be better. And I know you don't want to see a backslapping from an All Blacks team saying, well, at least you won, because that's not what the All Blacks are about. And quite honestly, they should have been better prepared for the Felix Jones blitz defence, which we spoke about in the build-up to this game. They knew it was coming. They didn't particularly handle it well, and I don't quite understand why, because it's given the All Blacks problems in the past. But, they've got all these people, these tactical gurus, looking at ways of dealing with a blitz defence. And there are ways you can do it by getting the ball wider, by committing that outside man who comes in and the pass over the top or the clever chip. It's something that you'd hope that Mackenzie would expand on. Great to try. The kick wide was great. That was an appreciation of the way England were defending at that point. But really, I expected more from the All Blacks. And I agree with you. I don't accept the argument that, well, we haven't played for a while, it's first up. You just come out of Super Rugby. You guys have been playing rugby for weeks and weeks and weeks. Everybody should be up to speed. And I thought at times that the offloading game, that some of the lines, the cutback lines, were really good against the England defence. I think they could have exposed that a bit more. I think that you could have exposed England in the driving maul. That's another area where I think that they really could be exposed, and because it's a weapon England don't use very well at the moment, and that's probably because of the new people coming into their pack. And so, there are areas. The scrum was an obvious one where you had more success than anybody expected, and the loss of Joe Marler now is absolutely massive. So I would expect a much better performance from the All Black pack second time up, and I expect your scrum to be absolutely dominant.
Look, I'm nodding my head. I agree with all of that. We've turned into a bunch of excuse makers down here, and I think part of that is just a mass media approach, which is just riding Razor's surfboard. And a lot of excuses around, the first match of the year and they haven't had a lot of time together. I totally agree with you. We've been playing 4 months of Super Rugby. They've had almost 2 weeks in camp together. This group of players aren't new to each other. 9 of them played the Rugby World Cup final. They're very familiar with each other. And when it comes to the most basic tenets of a test match, which is make your tackles, own territory, kick well, dominate the physicality. All of these things, it's not like you need 19 coaches to teach you about those things, do you? That's all Rugby 101. And so it's just a matter of getting out there and being able to execute. And look, if you swapped Scott Robertson for Ian Foster and said Foster was in charge of that match, well, what's really changed from what we've seen over the last 3 or 4 years with the All Blacks in that particular game?
And that's the problem for Razor now, is that he's got to make it his team very, very quickly. And that comes with certain problems, because obviously there's some players who aren't as attuned to what he's looking for and won't react as quickly as they need to. And we've seen that with England as well after Eddie. They were all shell-shocked then. At least you're not dealing with a shell-shocked bunch of players. These are guys who are hugely talented and want to perform. And so you're looking for the sort of tactical nous that you really saw with South Africa, where suddenly you see Kolisi, as the outside centre role. You think, what's he doing out there? He's doing out there because he is a threat. And the pass he gave was fantastic for the try, and it's something different. They're evolving, and you don't expect a conversation to have between the two of us in which we are going to praise the evolution of the South African tactical game ahead of the All Blacks. That just isn't a conversation you should be having.
Look, in terms of the rush defence, again, the big worry is that, I go back to 2017 when the Lions came here, Chris, and that was the first time that I can remember actually seeing it. And that's 8 years now, and this is the third All Black coach, and none of them have seemed to be able to get to grips with it. We've still got the same defence coach in Scott McLeod. We've added a whole lot of other coaches. As you said, it's not unexpected. It's not like we weren't prepared for it, but we just don't seem to still have any way of figuring it out effectively for 80 minutes.
Well, if you look at the final try for Ireland against South Africa, was a classic example of how you deal with a defence that's set up in, if you like, in the South African mould. They use the inside pass with dummy runners going wide to create a new hole in the defence. And you've got a fantastic ball player in Geordie Barrett. I just don't see you playing off him at the moment in that clever way. Talea was absolutely fantastic. He was looking for work all the time. It's just giving him the sort of lines and the sort of gaps in which he could really exploit them. At the moment, he's just running for the sake of running because he's the one who's really looking for work. But it's not who can see the way that the defence is lining up and spot how you use the inside ball, the cutback ball, to halt, the blitz, to stop them and make them think, crikey, that we've got a choice of three options here. Which one do we tackle? And just going wide and wide is not going to do it because England will come at you with that outside-in attacking defence, and it'll close down your space. And you just have to be cleverer. And you can talk about having the two train tracks where you have the two lines of attackers. Yeah, well, let's see it. Let's see something which is going to really expose what is an England defence that everybody in the world knows about. It shouldn't be a problem to solve.